What is up, guys? We've got
My name is Juan
Juan Carlos
Montoya Rodriguez.
Montoya, and we've got Ken. I couldn't think of anything clever. I'm sorry. Another episode of our Speakeasy podcast. Here we are, guys. We've got some bourbon, good beer. This is a new bourbon. I haven't tried this one yet at all. We have had this beer, which we will talk about in a little while. Fantastic one, by the way. But let's start out with this whiskey. This is called Still Austin.
Stone Cold Still Austin?
Stone Cold Still Austin. Yeah. And this is a coming out of Austin, Texas, which I guess makes sense if it's
so, yeah.
still Austin. Is it bourbon still? I don't know. Interesting. It says it's aged at least 2 years.
What the hell does that mean?
I mean,
Aged at least 2 years?
yeah.
So it could be 3, 4, 5, 6?
Yeah, I guess it's just because they blend it. I don't know, and whatever, but no, you can't blend it if it's a cask strength necessarily. So, but it's aged at least 2 years. Interesting.
Looks very
Interesting
dark.
statement. It does look pretty dark. So, which typically means the opposite. Usually, something's lighter. I think if it's not sitting in the barrel as long. So I don't know. To create this robust bourbon, we asked our master blender, Nancy the Nose Fraley, to search through our barrels of straight bourbon and select the most complex and full-flavored ones, those that were begging to be blended and released at barrel proof. So, okay, so it is a blended, but then they put it in the barrel, and then it's barrel. Okay, interesting. I always get they make this stuff all so confusing, and I think sometimes there's a little false advertising in my eyes, but whatever, it is what it is. If it's good juice, let's see what it is. Bottled at some proof at which it was aged, so they keep it at that proof. The resulting spirit is a masterpiece of complex, dark flavors with a deep spice finish. Well, we'll be the judge of that one, Mrs. Austin.
Mrs. Austin House?
And this one is coming in at 58%, 116 proof. Which got me thinking, did we say the proof on the last episode? I feel like I wonder if we did. Oh, well, I always list, if I don't say it on the show, I always will list it on the description.
Yeah, look in the description.
Yes, so you'll see it in the description. So check that out and make a comment while you're there, too, as well. This is a fresh crack. We've been doing fresh cracks lately.
Yeah, I got a fresh crack.
Yes, John has his crack smells very fresh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so Texas. So is it now? There's a thing called Texas whiskey, but Texas whiskey. I've had some Texas whiskey like Balcones or whatever. It tastes nothing like bourbon, so it's not a bourbon per se.
Okay.
But this one actually does say bourbon whiskey.
Bourbon.
Yeah.
All right.
So
let's do this.
yes, sir. Go. All right. There's for John, and for yours truly. Get in there, buddy. All right. All the noises. No, it's John. Not the microphone, the bourbon. Mm-hmm.
Cinnamon?
I do.
Smells like it might be spicy.
Yes, I do get the spice. They mentioned the spice. Maybe they put it in your head. Well,
Maybe.
but it does smell spicy.
I see, like minty. Mint?
Yeah, so when we say spicy, we don't mean spicy hot. It's not going to be
No,
like
no.
having
Not
Frank's Red Hot or something.
Jalapenos.
Yeah. Just like, like your spices, like your cinnamon, your allspice, nutmeg, all that fun stuff. Pepper.
It smells good.
Yeah, for this one in particular, I get that spice. I'm kind of getting like a candy of some sort.
Like a dark cherry.
Maybe a little. But more that's, I think you hit the nail with the spice, though, man.
Those really dark cherries that they put in like old fashions out of the jar.
Oh, the maraschinos?
No, those are the bright red ones, right? Those are those dark ones.
Oh, yeah, well, there's all different variations. I feel like there's something, I'm almost getting like a little bit of a green note.
Mint?
A little mint. Yeah, a slight hint. All right, I'm going to try it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
This is different.
It doesn't taste like a Texas whiskey at all, though.
No.
which once again, this is it's a bourbon, so.
It's not as spicy on the taste as it is on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
It's more brown sugar.
It's sweet.
It's definitely sweet.
Mm-hmm.
How about the?
I'm getting a nice Kentucky hug from it.
I don't want to say pecan, but what about like the pecan pie, like the gel, like the like the
yeah.
the sweetness of the pecan pie,
Like the pectin or whatever.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
It's like brown sugar and
Yeah. Yes. I mean, what other way are you going to describe that?
yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm not getting necessarily nuttiness, but I can see where you're
not
talking.
nuttiness, but like a sweetie,
like that jelly that you find in there.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm kind of getting that spice. I am kind of getting that. Not like sweet. I hate using cinnamon all the time because
How about this word?
Okay.
A little vinegary, like a sweetness from like grapes, like balsamic, like a sweetness from not vinegar. It doesn't taste like vinegar. Where I'm like,
I was gonna say, how about we don't use that word?
No. Like the sweetness from like a balsamic-y vinegar,
Okay, I see where you're going with it.
a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, I see where you're going with it.
To me, this is there's all sweet here.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one was I picked it up at a Total Wine on Route 46.
Okay.
I was driving that direction one day, and I was like, let me check out Total Wine. Actually, I had a gift card for there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not really near a Total Wine, so I'm like, the next time I pass one, I'm just going to run and get it. And they were doing samples of not the cask strength one. They were doing samples of another one. I kind of like the cask strength stuff, but I'm like, you know what? I like the sample they gave me, but I really want to get a cask strength. So I ended up buying their product, but just not the product that they were sampling.
Right.
Still Austin's one I have been kind of trying to keep an eye out for. I don't see it everywhere. It's got some hype behind it right now, and I was like, let me try it out.
Okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Let me ask you, would say like a Total Wine, like a sampling, because I'll go in there and I'll stare at the bourbon wall for about 25 minutes, and then somebody will come up to me like, did you want to sample? And I was like, well, yeah, can I sample the peppy? Like, what are you giving samples of? Is it? And it's always something that's like in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
That there's cases and cases and cases.
Yes.
Of.
Well, a lot of times there's cases and cases of it because it's a store pick. That means they bought a whole barrel of it.
Oh, okay.
So it's their pick.
Because I'm always like, you're giving me samples of shit.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And I've just last weekend I was up in the Catskills in my go-to liquor store. They had two people doing bourbon samples there, and I always feel bad because I'll sample it and a good percentage of the time I won't buy it, and I'll be like, I'll try some, I'll try it, yeah, whatever. And then I'm like, I go to the guy and I'm like, let me get that behind the wall. And I'm like,
that's why I don't sample because I'm like, I'm not gonna like it, I'm not gonna buy it.
Well, it's okay if you don't like something.
And then in the back of my head, I'm like, what if I do like it?
Yeah.
And I do want to buy it. And then Ken's going to make fun of me because it's
I'm not going to make fun of you. If you like it, it's good juice. And if it's good juice to you, it might be good juice to me too as well. And if it isn't, at least you like it.
My track record's not good.
No, come on. No, actually, no, it's not bad.
It's not
good. The other day, and I hate to say this sometimes, but I went to a festival. It was hot out. I'm like, there wasn't much alcohol options. Some guy had these cocktails in a can or whatever, and I was like, I just want something to drink, And I'm like, it seemed interesting. The concept seemed interesting. It was like unique flavors, and I go to the guy. I was like, I'm like, yeah, I'll try. I went up. There was like one person ahead of me on the line. I was like, let me just see what this is about because I saw he was sampling it. He's like, anyone you want to try? And I was like, well, what's your popular one? And I tried it, and I was like, all right. I was like, do you have anything that's a little less sweet? I'm like, this is kind of sweet for my liking. I don't usually do too much sweet stuff. He's like, well, the sweet tea one is pretty good. And don't get thrown off by the name. It's not. It's not.
Can I get something not sweet? Yeah, the sweet tea.
He's like, it's actually less sweet than these other ones. He's like, ignore the name. And I was like, I try it, and I was like, I'm going to be honest with you, man, this is just too sweet for my liking, I'm like, so I walked away. I felt kind of bad. He gave me the samples, but why should you be forced to buy something that you're not going to like,
Yeah. That's why I try to just like avoid samples altogether because I'm like I'm a sucker. I
It's-
feel bad
It's their job.
because they're going through the thing, they're getting me. Even when I go to like a brewery and I'm like, last week I went to Magnify on my lunch break, and they had new Mind Over Matter. It was like pumpkin spice cheesecake, and I was like, oh, that sounds good, but I don't want to. I'm not going to buy a 4-pack, and I don't want to buy a glass.
Yeah.
I was like, can I taste that? And he's like, oh yeah, it's so good. Try it. And I was like,
We were like this, and
I was like, yeah, it's good. I'm gonna take the Pilsner.
yeah, I know. I always say, thanks for letting me try that. I always wanted to try it. Just try it out, you know? Or, I've been wanting to try. I saw you guys post about it. I wanted to try it out, which is fine. It's okay because you're still buying something from them.
You're right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, as far as these whiskey things, when people are sampling, these are people a lot of times that it's someone who works for the company, and they're like, hey, I need you to go out to that store and sample stuff. They have to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
And you strike a conversation with them. You talk about stuff. Even if you don't buy it, you're still making the time move for them, you know?
So, are you saying next time I go to Total Wines and they offer me a sample, and even though I probably have no intentions of buying, I should just take that sample?
Yeah. Because you'll be surprised. Look what happened with me. I tried the sample, and I ended up buying something from them.
Yeah.
And even though it wasn't what she sampled, I said, wow, if they're...
if this is decent.
Yeah, if their small batch or whatever is decent, that means the cask strength might be pretty good.
Okay. And it is.
Yeah.
Look what happened.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's my first time having the cask strength. So, sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes, I wouldn't feel bad. Just think about these workers, too, that are pouring it.
Yeah, I guess they need to pour samples just to keep their jobs.
Exactly.
You're the sampler.
Exactly. And do you think that when they go out and they try a sample, they're going to like everything?
Sure.
So,
I guess
they're human.
Yeah.
We're human.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
Drink what you're going to drink. That's
Sure.
it. That's what it is, you know?
I got another question for you before we divulge into our topic.
Okay.
I have a dinner plans coming up with a few couples,
Okay.
and it's a BYOB place.
Yes.
BYOB is usually like a bottle of wine. We've gone a couple times and we brought like beer.
I know which place you're talking about because you had mentioned it, but
I can't bring a bottle of whiskey. Can I?
all right. So when we went there last time, I made old fashioned.
Yeah.
And I put it in a Yeti or something.
Yeah.
And I actually asked them, can I have a glass of ice?
Yeah.
And I just poured it on there.
that works.
No one said
because-
anything to me.
I think you're against it, but I've seen old fashioned Bullet Rye already pre-made in a bottle,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I could just bring that
Yeah.
and then pour into the ice. And
Yeah. What's worse than trying? They say you can't do that. I think half the staff at these places don't know the rules.
Yeah.
And
I don't know the rules.
And if someone brings it, well, I've been to restaurants, Cuban Pete's in Montclair. You could bring your Bacardi and they'll make yourself a mojito for you.
But you're using their
Mix.
mojito mix, yeah.
Yes.
Whereas a place like this, I'm just getting ice and I'm being like, I'm going to whip out my whiskey.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could. I don't know if that's a rule, like a law. I don't know.
I don't know. I think if you could bring liquor to one place, even though Cuban Pete's is they're a little bit of a rule bender there. I've heard they got into trouble. Yeah, so who knows? But
because it's like always wine. You know, BYOB. You always think, oh, I'm going to get a bottle of wine.
yeah.
I don't want wine.
Well, yeah, it's
wanna
usually
bust out
beer
a bottle
or
of-
wine.
I want to bust out a bottle of whiskey.
Well, I mean, I don't know the rule. There's two answers I can give you. A, what's the worst that happened? They tell you, no, you can't do that? Okay, sorry. I thought BYOB was anything.
Yeah.
Okay, honest mistake.
Sure.
Or you can call them and say, hey, can I bring a bottle of whiskey? And you'll find out then and there. You know, if you want to play it safe, that is. You know.
Well, I figure I'll come to you first.
Like I said, I've brought mixed drinks that I've never actually brought a whiskey, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Were you planning on does these people you're going to be with, do they sip on whiskey or no?
Yeah, one of the guys is like, don't forget to bring the whiskey.
Okay.
And I was like,
Okay.
I don't know if I could. And then I got to walk around with a bottle of whiskey that we don't finish.
You're not. Well, you can park near.
That's why I figured I would bring like one of those pre-made,
Yeah.
like old fashioned.
Yes, but you're still gonna have to walk around with whatever you had. It's stored.
I would
in.
throw that out.
Oh, okay.
Like if we didn't finish it all, I would just be like, all right.
Oh, okay. I see where you're.
Or we would just finish it.
Yeah,
It's a
I
pre-made
often find those
cocktail.
pre-made things, taste like they're pre-made. Sometimes they're too sweet, sometimes whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, in that particular place that you're going to, I have brought my own hard liquor mixed drink. So,
Okay.
and
Maybe I'll do that.
yeah, I mean,
Just
old
make 'em up.
fashioned's pretty easy, So if you want to do something along those lines, it's one of the easier ones. Actually, do you see a book all which next to the Frey wrench bottle on the back? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you? Is that book reachable to you at all or no? All right, I didn't want wires to go. But if you look at this, I feel like it was like page 100 or something, or along those lines. I don't know why that's in my head, but I could be wrong. 90 something? What are we on? What page are we on? 100. Oh, there it is.
Wow.
Your old-fashioned mix. And this particular book, which is The Old Man Drinks, Recipes, Advice, Barstool Wisdom.
And that's what we are,
My-
old men.
My wife gifted this to me. It's a pretty cool book. It's got some, like, your old Irish coffee, whatever, old man drinks, basically. The ingredients here in this book is 1 sugar cube. So this is legit old-fashioned.
Yeah. I
Nothing,
guess 1 sugar cube would be like 1 teaspoon of sugar.
yeah. Or you could just use like a squirt of simple syrup, which is, but yes, I actually have sugar cubes. I use them for my mocha pot espresso once in a while, so I kind of like that stuff. So I have them on hand. This is 2 dashes of the Angostura bitters, 2 ounces of bourbon,
Yes.
which is pretty standard when it comes to mixed cocktails. And in this one in particular, it has a lemon twist. Okay. I find that most places, when they do an old-fashioned, they use an orange twist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I find that, when I personally make old fashions, I use the Angostura bitters. I'm probably butchering that name, and I use some orange bitters as well.
Yes.
And I do a couple squirts of the orange bitter, and then but I don't really garnish mine. I don't do the cherry. When you do the cherry and all that stuff, that's more a new old fashioned,
Okay.
As opposed to your traditional old fashioned.
I mean, the orange twist, I don't need that.
Yeah.
What do? They like rub the rim with it and then they just throw it in?
Yeah, part of your taste is your smell. So if you do get that smell, I always wondered about that. When you have, like, back in the day with Blue Moons, you had a Blue Moon, had the orange on top. I'm like, are you getting more of that orange taste because it's by your nose, or are you actually tasting it? Because scent and taste is so, close together when it comes to trying something. It's like hold your nose and try to taste something. You're not going to necessarily taste it. You muddle the sugar cube and bitters in the bottom of an old-fashioned glass. Add your ice and bourbon. Stir. Garnish with a lemon twist. It's very easy to make. And if you're doing something where you're going somewhere and you have like a thermos of some sort, just double the ingredients, double the recipe, and it's pretty easy. So,
Excellent.
I'm
going to take a picture of this.
Yeah,
recipe,
go ahead. Yeah, this is the one I use, with the exception of I add a couple dashes of orange bitters. Do you have Angostura? You probably don't have Angostura bitters, all right?
I don't. No.
Yeah. They have them at pretty much any liquor store. You can get those bitters, and then they have the orange bitters too, which you can get as well.
I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
If I have an old fashioned at home, it's a pre-made mix. And
Yes.
I do my 2 ounces of
I
bourbon
feel like you may have mentioned
with
this.
my
Yeah.
1 ounce of pre-made mix.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
And sometimes, honestly, it's not even that it's too sweet. It's too much like cinnamony,
Yeah.
and I don't like that.
Yeah, that might be better in the fall. I bought some walnut bitters, and I was going to do some different plays on old fashions with that, just to see how it was. I'm still working on perfecting
with what?
Walnut bitters.
What did we do? We did that with the bacon.
Uh-huh.
Remember the bacon bourbon?
Yeah.
The Jeff Nichols. did
Yes. Right, that's right.
this. And
yeah.
I did like the walnut.
Yeah, it was just a different.
We should do a cocktail.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we haven't done one in a little bit. I
No.
guess we're probably due. We'll do it soon. We'll do it at some point. Next year. So, no, I'm joking. But yeah. Let's dive into our topic, John. We were discussing something about, John and I are getting older. We have kids, and we were talking about holding on to things, being sentimental about things, and things that do you as a parent, do you tend to find yourself throwing things out or holding on to things from your kids? To what extent do you hold on to things? If it's too large, do you hold on to it? What's your take on it, John? Are you
I
sentimental?
personally keep everything.
keep
every Father's Day card, every birthday card,
Okay.
every drawing my kids
Cards
made.
are easy though, because you
Yeah.
can just put them in a folder.
Every drawing my kids made when I was a kid. And then actually, it's funny because last week my wife was cleaning out. We must have 4,234,825 coffee cups in the house,
Yeah.
and
That's all.
that's all.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. It takes up a lot of space in the cabinet. And my wife was going through them, and one of them was from my kids must have been like 3 years old, and said, "I love you, Dad," and it's pictures of them on the coffee cup. And I was like, "What are you doing with that?" She's like, "You don't use it." I was like, "Yeah, but that's sentimental."
Yeah.
Like my kids gave that to me for like my second Father's Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, "What are you doing with that?"
Yeah. Throw the new one out.
Yeah,
Keep
throw
the old
the,
one.
throw the one that with Goofy that we bought at Disney in 2007. I don't want that one.
Yeah.
And I do. I keep a lot of stuff, even from myself as a kid, and I'm not a throwawayer guy.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm a sentimental junkie.
You're a sentimental hoarder.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Which I don't see anything wrong. It's much easier when you're doing something that is smaller, like a card.
I have all my kids' teeth.
Oh.
They're all in my underwear drawer.
Just make sure they're not in your underwear when you're putting them on.
That would hurt. They're all in Ziplocs, ready to go.
Yeah. So yeah, there's
Ready to
some,
go
but that's easy. Once again, that's easy things. We have plenty of clothes. We're only sentimental things. Otherwise, we've given away a lot of clothes or donate. My wife donates it.
We give away clothes, but we've kept like little sneakers.
Yes.
Little
That's the funny thing.
shoes.
My wife, my son had his like first real pair of sneakers. He was walking already. He was getting them dirty. He was doing all this stuff, And she looked at him. He outgrew them, obviously. And then she looked at him. She's like, "I just want to chuck these." I was like, "No." I'm like, keep them with the dirt on them and everything. I'm like, let's keep it. If we're gonna keep a pair of shoes, this is the one to keep, And I'm like, even though they're dirty, they're messy, whatever. I'm like, that just shows he was a fun kid that was running around and doing things in the yard and all that stuff, Like, just keep it the way it is,
Yeah. I mean, even my old stuff. My dad found an old Edgar Allan Poe book from when I was in like 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And it's got my name written in it and the year. And he's like, do you want this or do you want me to throw it away? And I was like, no, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then I gave it to my daughter. I was like, why don't you read these Edgar Allan Poe stories? And
Yeah.
I was like, look, my name's in there.
Yeah.
I was like 8
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Like, read this.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because
Did you have an Edgar Allan Poe book too?
I don't have an Edgar Allan Poe book, but we have been like my wife has gone to her parents' house and she's brought like recently it was like these old like OG like Star Wars figurines and things like that, Darth Vader and all this stuff, and that her parents actually held on to, and I work with a lot of middle-aged women that are like, oh yeah, we throw everything out, but I'm like, you're gonna have grandkids at some point, so maybe there's certain things you might want to hold on to.
It's not even for the grandkids. I mean, my stepmother called me and she's like, hey, I got a bag full of G.I. Joes and wrestlers. Do you want these? And in my head, I'm like, no. But then I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I used to play with those nonstop.
Yeah.
And then I finally gave in. I was like, you know what?
Those are my friends.
Yeah, that's who I spoke to for 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Get rid of them. I don't have boys.
Bro.
My kids aren't going to play with them.
Should ask me.
Yeah. I think she still has them. I don't think she got rid of them.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like second guessing myself. And I'm like, dude, I want those.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if you're going to throw them out, give them my son will play with them, man.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know. I'll take the G.I. Joes and stuff like that.
G.I. Joes were awesome.
No Barbies, though,
No Barbies?
No. I don't want your Barbie collection. But,
And then she's like, do you want your Beanie Baby collection? And I always said, I never had a Beanie Baby in my life.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? And she's like, there's a whole bag full of Beanie Babies. And I was like, those aren't mine. Like, I was old when those came out. It's like,
what are you talking about?
I was like, those are probably my brothers.
Those are my Beanie Babies.
And she's like, all right, I'll ask him. And then I was like, wait a minute. Beanie Babies are worth like something now.
Yeah, some of them
I
are.
was like, no. I'll take them. You're right. They are mine.
Yeah.
I bought that when I was 23. My
Yeah.
favorite Beanie Baby. Don't get rid of it.
There's a lot of things like you can be sentimental about. Like my mom, a lot of the times she'd be like, "Oh, this might be worth something." Like she had a,
Dad's like that too.
And she goes, my father's old Hess truck. I think it was like an original one. It had missing a wheel, missing a couple things or whatever. And I was helping her do something, and she's like, "Oh, that might be worth something." I'm like, "Ma, I don't care if it's worth something. I'm not selling it." I'm like,
I would keep that.
exactly. This is something my father played with. Obviously, he played with it. It was missing. I'm like, this is something I want to keep. I'm like, I have no intentions of selling any of it. I have it over underneath the TV over there. You know, it's just something I
I have
look
no
at.
intentions of selling anything from
Yeah.
my youth, except for those Beanie Babies, because
Yeah.
they weren't mine. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your brothers. Poor brother. Joey, if you're listening, you hear what your brother's doing? Oh, gosh. But, that's, yeah, I guess there's certain things you could be sentimental about. We actually have, we still have the Buggly Wuggly that you gave our son for his first birthday.
oh, the little
Yeah, the little
thing you write on.
It's in our attic.
Yeah.
I was like, we can't get rid of the Buggly Wuggly.
Yeah.
So it's in the attic, and it's gonna probably be in the attic for a long time, unfortunately.
My daughter had my daughter is attached to things. So even now, she's gonna turn 14, and she still has this dog that she's had for like the last 10 years. But she had this Dora doll. She took it everywhere we went.
Yeah.
Pictures of it like on vacation, and she's holding it. And I still have it. I don't think she realizes I still have it, but I'm not getting rid of that.
No.
It still smells like her as a kid. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff.
My son has a blanket like that.
Yeah,
It's-
they're blankets.
He has. We call it the Fox blanket. I think I picked it up on Amazon or something. We got and he still has to have it. That's the blanket he has on top.
Yeah.
And you always have to face. Has the tag, the little whatever. The tag has to be facing him. The first thing he'll grab is he'll grab the tag. Yeah,
with it,
yeah.
Yeah, I have when my wife was pregnant, we bought babies blankets from Amish country.
Yeah.
And they used them for quite a few years. And now they're folded up in a bin in the basement.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, we're starting to clean the basement up. And my wife's like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Those don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
When they're old and they have babies, we're going to give that to our kids.
I know.
For those babies.
I know.
You don't throw stuff like that out.
Yeah. And that's tough. It's always a tough decision what to do. I mean, I'm sure for things that are like clothes or whatever. I mean, vacuum seal stuff. Vacuum seal is amazing now. You can just vacuum seal stuff.
I mean, I don't need old clothes. Give it to somebody who needs it. I'm okay with that. Like I said, minus like their first sneakers and cute little things. But if they have like jeans when they were like 1, and I was like, I remember being on the boardwalk and you had those jeans. No, I can get rid of those.
I had an interesting, speaking of, to get off real quick off topic on sentimental possessions. I had an interesting experience recently with my son. He had been gifted almost exactly 2 years ago. It was a tadpole. It turned into a frog, and
A real one?
yeah. And, yes, fake ones I don't think would turn from a tadpole. Well, and it recently passed, and it was killer. But I've never seen this. My son hasn't experienced emotions and grief really in front of us before in that respect, where there was a death, something happened. So this was a first for us, and my wife, I said, she's like, I'm sorry, buddy, but I just saw that Kermit, that was the name, Kermit, had passed, and my wife was like, it's okay. It's okay to be sad, and he was just like crying and crying, and then he'd be fine, and then he'd start crying and crying. Next morning, he was crying again. I was like, buddy, it's okay. I'm like, you know what I said to him? I said, you're showing how much you really cared, by the way you're acting and reacting. And I said, it's okay to let it out. And I even told him, I said, your father, me, I said, I don't let out my emotions enough, unfortunately. And I hold things in too much. And I'm, some people might take it as I'm kind of cold in ways sometimes. But I'm happy that you're expressing your emotions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't do the great fatherly thing and be like, let me see what I can do, and go out and get another frog and then be like, look, he's back to life.
No, I mean, the other side of it is we had one fish in there. You really aren't supposed to put like fish and frogs, but they got along, We had one fish in there, and I said, and we were reluctant to ever get any more fish because we were afraid on that fish-frog relationship, And I said to him, like, hey, buddy, we're going to go to the pet store. We're going to get some fish now, We're gonna take a break from the frogs, but let's get some fish. And I got in trouble. I got in trouble a couple times during this whole fiasco of, whatever, maybe. And I got in trouble because my wife and him they buried the frog under a frog statue we had in the yard. It was a little tiny, tiny frog. And they buried it, and then I went onto my phone and I started playing Rainbow Connection. And you hear the guitar doing, you know, and it's going, and sometimes and I started playing it, and my wife was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Because he started crying, and then she was crying, and I was like, she's like, "What is wrong?" And she's like, "You think this is funny?" I'm like, "No, I thought it was a good thing to play when you know, I thought it was a proper thing to play. It was Kermit, and Kermit was singing and everything." And she's like, she's like, "Really, you're an asshole?" And I was like, "No, I'm not making a joke out of this. I was actually really serious. I thought it was a nice song to play, you know, for saying goodbye. You know, you go to a funeral or wake and you play the song or whatever." And I was like, "I thought it was a good one." And then I got in trouble for buying too many fish the next day for the aquarium. So that was twice. But that's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
You try to buy your kids emotions. You know, I want you to feel better. So here's 25 fish as opposed to one frog.
I know.
And then when they start dying one at a time, that's going to blow up in your face.
Well, it's not necessarily. Yeah, I think it was just more. You know, we can take a sad thing and make it better. Sure, you know, Hey Jude. But yeah, I think that's what it was really. And we even told him. We said, "Buddy, there's a good chance that a lot of these fish will not last past this week. Yeah. We're just telling you right now," because he's like, "I want to name them." We're like, "Just wait on naming them right now," you know. I'm like, "I don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know." But actually, they're all ticking still. We're into a week now, so.
Well, I bought not a similar story, and yeah, we're gonna stick on this because this is a thing with children and death and animals. You know, my daughter bought her first hermit crab quite a few years ago. Off the boardwalk, and she loved it. Yeah. And it was Perry, after Katy Perry. She's like, "I want to name it Perry." I was like, "Okay." And my other daughter didn't want anything to do with one. So like, all right, we have one nice big hermit crab. Yeah. And we bought a big tank. We did the whole thing. And then my second daughter was like, "Well, I think I want one." So I was like, "All right, let's go buy it." Yeah. And the little one was Shelly. So Shelly, I come home from work, and Shelly's just kind of sitting there. Just sitting there, staring. Not even staring.
Worst pet to own, I think, in my opinion. Yeah.
I thought Shelly was gone.
Yeah.
You know, and then they all came home from school, and I was like, "Listen, she didn't make it. She didn't last long. You know, Perry's still kicking. Shelly not so much." And I said, "Let's take Shelly, and we're going to give her a burial. We're going to bury her outside, right under the bathroom window, and put a little cross or whatever." And I'm looking at Perry, and Perry's the same thing now. Oh, he's just standing there.
That's a hermit crab. That's why it's a horrible pet.
So I look it up, and they're like, "Well, no, they're not dead. They're molting, and this is what they do. They look like they're dead, but they're in some type of."
Did you bury it?
Shelly, I go, "Shit, it's not dead. Let's go." We go outside. I got the shovel. I'm like, "I can't fucking find it. The little cross is there. It's under the bathroom window. Where the fuck is Shelly?" Yeah. I don't know where it ever went. Yeah. I could never find it again. And I'm like, I buried alive the fucking hermit crab. And my daughter's crying. I buried alive her hermit crab. Now I feel awful. The thing wasn't dead. And they're like, "Well, Perry's not dead either. Let's keep it." And then it's like 2 weeks later. I'm like, "Perry's still in the same fucking position. Perry's dead, bro." Yeah. "No, he's not dead. You said." And I'm like, "Oh, now this thing is just sitting there and it's like decomposing." And I'm like, Perry's
that means the other one may have been dead as well. They're very tough. They're not fun animals to have. They're very boring, very nothing.
No, Perry was awesome. My wife would wash them.
Yeah.
She'd take them out of the tank and put them in another bucket of water, and we'd scrub them, and they would hang out and come out.
I got a text the day after we got the fish, and she goes, one of them it's called a yo-yo loach, because the pattern on it looks like it actually spells yo-yo on it, on the pattern.
Loach, I remember those.
Yeah, and kind of like a sucker catfish or one of those families. Anyways, she goes, "Oh, we lost the loach." This is the day after. I'm like, "Wow!" I'm surprised it looked so healthy yesterday. You know,
can we bring that back?
Yeah, and then she an hour later, she's like, "No, it's fine."
No, forget it. He was sleeping.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I just read online that they could sleep in weird positions and things like that." And she was like cursing me out. She's like, "We don't have a small enough net for this aquarium and this and that." And I was like, "Okay." I'm like, I'm out, you know. But anyways, it turns out it was alive and fine, and it's still kicking and exciting and swimming around. So
I'm pretty sure Shelly was alive, and I buried it alive.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is make sure it's dead first.
Yeah, make sure it's dead.
Do your research prior.
Yeah.
Beer time.
Yeah, it's beer time.
Yeah, and then we'll talk a little bit more on sentimental things, I think.
I want to know about sentimental things from you, like
Yeah.
like your own stuff, not your kids' stuff.
I mean, I have a lot of things like the sentiment, like baseball cards, things like that. Which anything, as you know, my father passed at a younger age, pretty much what our age. We're getting there to when my father had passed.
I
Yeah,
think I'm there. He was 48?
48.
47.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 47.
Yeah. So so anything that has to do with my father, obviously, I'm going to be extremely sentimental about. Anything that came from him, anything that he had owned or whatever. So, it's things like that. I'm obviously going to be more sentimental. So he gave me baseball cards, as he used to give me and my brothers a lot of times, Topps cards, like the whole sets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sentimental about myself, too. Like, I have a cookie jar when my grandmother had passed away, when we were going through things and stuff. And I'm like, I really didn't want anything. I didn't want any furniture. I think my brothers took some furniture, things of that sort and stuff. I was like, I just want something to remember her by, you know? So I was like, I saw the cookie jar. It was like a house cookie jar that I used to see in her kitchen and everything.
I had the same. My grandmother had like an elephant cookie jar.
Yeah.
And then it broke eventually.
Yeah.
But I still have the cross that was hanging in her casket. During
Oh,
her
okay.
wake. Yeah, my parents gave that to me. And I have it. And she had a big diamond ring that my dad has that he kept the diamond, changed the band. He'll wear it once in a while. And he's like, but when something happens to me, he's like, this is yours. My brother never really met my grandmother. She died.
Yeah. It's not as sentimental maybe for your brother. Yeah.
Right. But me and my grandmother are very, very close. And my dad's like, anything that I have from her is really, that it's going to be yours.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I mean, so things like that, obviously you don't want to get rid of. But there's always that question. You know what? I've been meaning to do this for the longest time. I got to start labeling things. I got to, like, for instance, like that cookie jar. I got to put my grandmother's name or my grandparents' names. Right. I'm assuming it was from my grandfather wasn't the type to buy a house cookie jar or something. It was my grandmother's. Yeah. But I want to put her name, any kind of information I can find on that cookie jar, which I have already. It was like a 1950s one and everything, and any of that kind of information.
You didn't leave like the cookies in it.
No. That would be pretty old if that was the case. And just so that my son knows where this came from when he eventually inherits or takes it or whatever, It's funny that I had mentioned before I don't take anything bulky, but I did. Because I have my house in the Catskills. I did, and this was later. So my grandmother at one point needed to get rid of her china cabinet in her dining room, or her dining room set. Let's just say that. And I had a dining room set up at the Catskills that I had no attachment to. It came with the house. Yeah. And at some point, I saw that I knew my aunt had taken it off our hands because my grandmother wanted to get rid of it. Me and my brothers, we just had no place to put it. So it was whatever. Too much for us to take in. But then out of the blue, my aunt was moving, and she's like, I'm looking to get rid of this. She listed it online. And I was like, oh, shoot. I'm like, that's my grandmother's set. I had a house now that I could put it in and use it. I remember doing homework on this table. I remember all that stuff, I remember the texture of it. It was always so smooth and it was like mahogany or some shit, I don't know. And I was like, oh, man, it'd be nice if I could take this. So I had reached out, I don't know, me or my mother had reached out to my aunt or whatever, and I know she was selling it or whatever. And I was like, I'm interested in the table. I will purchase it from you. And then my aunt's husband, my uncle's like, no, give it to him. That's, whatever. It was gifted to you, this and that, whatever. I said, no, absolutely not. I know that you intend to get something from this, to help you in your move and all that stuff. I said, look at it like this. You held on to it for the last 8 years or whatever amount of years for look at it as almost like storage space.
Yeah. And they kept it nice. They kept it. It's a beautiful set.
Yeah, it was a beautiful set. I said, she's like, all right. She's like, I'm not charging you what I was going to charge for, when I was charging for that. I'll give you whatever. I said, that's absolutely fine. I said, put this towards your new home and whatever you're going to do and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm not looking for this for free. I just want it. You did us a favor. You took it at a time where I could not take it. So, and it's nice still here.
Because that would have been like, that's mine. That was my grandma. Not your grandma. That's my grandma. Give it back.
Some people might get sour about it and say, oh, well, she was really, this and that and whatever. I'm like, no. Not at all. Not at all. So I was happy.
Good.
I feel like, by the way, a side note, I think Jay's our new beer dealer because we haven't got anything from Dom lately. Dom, where are you, buddy?
Dom who? Who?
Dom, yeah,
Dom? Who?
yeah, Dom. We love you, Dom. But yeah, Jay has hooked us up with some good beers recently. So
Jay is still into the whole beer. I mean, so, as we are,
yeah,
a little bit, but Jay's still into like that. I'm going to the breweries. I want to travel. I want to go here. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Every time I go, I'm going to find the brewery.
Yeah.
And Jay was in Maine recently, and he brought us back some Maine Beer Company. Just like last week, he brought us back the Bissell. And this is Maine Beer Company Dinner. And dinner is phenomenal. They got lunch. They got dinner.
I have lunch on tap actually
Yes, they have,
out here, and I love Maine Beer Company because it's not like lactose or any of that shit. It's
a good, solid, pure,
Yeah.
old school beer.
So yeah, dinner. What's it coming in at?
This is coming in at 8.2.
Okay.
And a good Maine always comes in the bottle.
Yeah.
Maine Beer Company dinner.
It's deceiving. John was like, it's basically the same amount of beer as a can, which is 16 ounces,
I
right?
was not expecting that.
Yeah.
And this says, do what's right.
Do what's right.
Just do what's right.
And that's drink it. And I heard that they have, which Jay had reiterated too, that they have a Maine breakfast as well now.
Yeah.
I don't know too much on that story, but I have heard about it. I've seen it on like Instagram
Is there
or
another
something.
one, like an after dinner?
Yes, I have the bottle sitting over there. It was such a rare one that I'm like, I'm keeping the bottle. Dom had actually shared that with us. And I was like, yep. I'm like, Don, you want this bottle? He's like, nope. I'm like, I'm taking it.
And I like this because it says, thank you for helping us to do good through great beer.
Yeah. Maine's solid. I can never say anything wrong. Hence the reason why I have it on draft right now. Always good stuff. Solid beer. Man, it just smells so good right now, man. Yeah.
It's extra good.
Yeah. Cheers, bub.
Cheers.
Jay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we want our beer to taste like.
Yeah. I might go back to more beer now.
Which is why I bought an extra bottle off of Jay so I can have this at a later time.
Yeah.
Now, I have seen these in like the local shop, right?
Yeah.
But they're always on the shelf. And you know how I feel about that.
You haven't seen Maine dinner on the shelf, though.
On the shelf.
Maine.
Not in the fridge.
Yes, but not Maine dinner. Other Maine.
Well, I've seen lunch. You know,
Yeah,
I don't
lunch
know if
you'll
I've seen
see.
dinner.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
dinner
sure
you
if I've
won't
seen
see.
dinner. But all the mains that I see, and what I'm is all the mains that I see are always on the shelf.
I think I know we were alluding
They're
to.
never on the fridge.
Yes.
And I can never wrap my head around it.
Some beers are okay on the shelf. Some beers you really need to keep cold.
But every time I buy it, even though it's off the shelf and I put it in the fridge, I open it up and it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's fine. Like I said, I think they wouldn't. A brewery will say you need to keep this refrigerated.
Yeah.
You know, Maine, because we see it on shelves everywhere, I think they don't need to be refrigerated. Otherwise, they would be refrigerated, just like some other beers. But yes, I hear where you're going with that. I've had Tap House 15. It's a bar,
like that spot.
not too far from here, maybe about 20 minutes from here, and they have had Maine dinner on draft quite a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's cool to try that on draft, and it's a solid beer. I mean, you can't go wrong with Maine. I think any of them, man. We've had Maine on the show before. We've had Maine lunch on the show. I think before, probably my draft. Maybe at some point we had.
We definitely have had Maine. We've definitely had. I think we've had a couple of Maines.
Yeah.
But I don't know what.
Yeah, yeah. But got good beer, tasty. I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
There's not much more to say. I mean, you really don't have to critique Maine
Wish you
because it's
weren't
always
so
going to be
far.
good.
I wish it was like New Jersey, not Maine. But.
Yeah, I know. That makes it tough, right? That always makes it tough.
Cool.
Well,
Thanks, Jay. Thanks,
Thanks. Yeah, we appreciate it, man. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun episode, right? I mean,
anything else you're sentimental on?
yeah. Well, the only thing I was going to say is sometimes, if you want to hold on to things because it makes you feel better, if it makes you, if there's sentimental to it, do it. But I think some of the larger things, once in a while, you have to say goodbye to. I've held onto plenty of things. Sometimes, like, if it's not sentimental and it doesn't touch your heart, and it's something that you don't see too often, maybe sometimes it's time to say goodbye. If you have a family member, a relative, maybe someone had a kid themselves or something, once in a while, it's okay. So it's going to be put to better use. My only concern is this, okay? I want to finish on my side with this. There's plenty of things I like. There's plenty of things I'm personally sentimental about that in the future, is my son going to even know what this is? That's the reason I said I want to start labeling things. Is he going to be like, oh yeah, I want to keep this? I mean, it was cool to me. It's special to me. It's like this basement. If you've seen this basement, I have things all over the place, things that have meaning to me that I'm kind of like, is this going to be an issue when my son or my wife or whoever inherits it and takes it? Is this going to be something like, maybe I should have got rid of a lot of this stuff because now I put on a little bit of a burden because they have so much crap that they might have to get rid of.
I'll be here and I'll be like, listen, I know Ken passed away, but
Yeah.
can I have this?
Yeah, can I have this?
I spent a lot of time down here staring at that. Can I have that?
This Van Winkle Family Reserve bottle sitting over there? Yeah, can you.
Ken said he wanted me to have it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Me and Jay have joked around about this before, and we always said if one of us passes, because we're on our bourbon game, we know our stuff. I said if something happens to you or something happens to me, we're going to. We told each other that we would have. I would help sell all his sealed bottles for his wife. Right. And get whatever the best value I can get and give it to his family. And he would do the same to me and all the open stuff that you can keep. I think he's going to make out better on this one. But I got a lot of
well, I'm intruding. I want some of the open stuff.
Yeah. John, you got to work that out with Jay. So, I'm joking. But hopefully we live long, happy lives, and maybe I get to drink some of this
Jay's
good
older.
stuff.
He's going to go before us.
Yeah. So, shout out, Still Austin. Dude,
Stone Cold.
I was going to make a comment. Austin. I don't want to interrupt our conversation. I was going to make a comment that Still Austin got better and better with every sip.
Oh, yeah. It was really good.
At the end, I was like, dude, I want to comment on this, but we're talking about something. I'm like, this is really, it got better.
Yeah. There's a little bit more is going to get poured in this glass for you.
Yeah, I think so. Jay, thanks again for the Maine dinner. Dom, you've been slacking. No. we love both you guys, but this is it's been a fun episode.
Comment on what you keep as your sentimental.
Yeah,
stuff,
is there anything? Do you have a blankie?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you have?
You're sentimental to me. I'm gonna keep you.
Yeah. John, keep me in your back pocket whenever you want, man.
Thank you.
John, cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers to you. All right.